why are so many vegans leaving veganism and going to ketogenic and carnivore diets? Why are so many vegans becoming ex-vegans? First of all, it's very important to understand that veganism is a super recent fad. The vegan diet has only even been in existence for less than 100 years. Never in the history of humanity have a people been so dumbed down, decadent, depraved, and disconnected from their natural environment, disconnected from their source of food, that they would even consider removing all animal foods from the diet. Only recently have processed, refined junk foods, powdered protein, pea protein powder, only recently have these massive corporate interests made it possible for us to eat a diet consisting of grain, consisting of refined, processed carbohydrates. And only recently have people been dumb enough to actually adopt this. Right? The rise of social media has allowed everybody to jump online and create their own little cult. With the decline of Western civilization, with the decline of people's belief in the truth, with the decline of people's connection to what it is to really be human, what it is to feed our families, the public education system has come a large portion of the population that is easily manipulated into these little cults. The rise of social media now allows all of us to go online and start your own little cult on YouTube. And that's what we've seen over the last decade. And you see these fruitarian cults, you see people starting, you see polyamory fruitarian cults now all over YouTube. It's crazy. Alright, so there are a lot of parents out there whose kids maybe went out to college, came back, 18 years old, dyed their hair purple, talking about how they're going vegan, they're going to save the animals, animal liberation now, fight for the rights of the crickets and the cows. Fortunately, it's only a phase. Obviously, you're probably concerned if your kids are, seemingly radicalized into this nonsense starvation ideology, but it will pass. Understand that 84% of vegetarians and vegans within just a few years will go back to eating meat. And that's vegetarians and vegans. I'd posit that the percentage of vegans that will go back to eating meat is much higher. Right? The type of people that get attracted to these ideologies due to internet marketers online, emaciated ideologues on social media and YouTube, the type of people that get attracted to this are usually doing it out of desperation for trying to get their health back. And their health very often fails rapidly and declines very, very rapidly on these vegan and vegetarian diets. Many people who are attracted to these ideologies are just looking for meaning. Right? We've had the truth ripped out from under our feet in the Western society. No longer do people believe in objective truth. No longer do people believe in objective morality. No longer do people believe in the truth. So they look for alternate truths. They look for lesser gods. And they end up jumping into these online communities to try to feel like they're a part of something. Right? We get raised in a public education system that rips our soul apart in so many ways. Right? We're sitting in classrooms, being trained like Pavlov's dogs, using operant conditioning. The bell rings, you salivate. You go to recess. You go to lunch. The bell rings, you come back, you sit down, you shut up. You learn lies about where you come from, who you are, and what reality is. You get taught moral relativism. Right? So this absence of connection to the truth makes it very, very easy for people's void to be filled. That God-shaped hole in everybody's heart can be filled with lesser gods. Veganism can be one of those. Fortunately, human beings are highly intelligent and are very connected to their environment and are very perceptive. People understand when they see something that is sickly. People can see the sick, twisted nature of some of these ideologies that are so rampant these days. And veganism is blaringly, obviously, a demented religious cult. You could see these people promoting it online. You could see how these groups of vegans troll each other cannibalizing each other. Right? The vile comments they make, the videos that they put out, the constantly pushing their ideology onto other people. People pick up on this. They see the sick, disturbed behavior by these people online. And eventually, they're not going to want to be a part of it. The nutrient deficiencies that come with a vegan diet become blatantly obvious to people as well. So the nutrient deficient nature of veganism, when you remove all animal foods from the diet, the essential human nutrients, the fat-soluble vitamins, right? When you deprive yourself of cholesterol, people start to get sick, both physically and mentally and morally. Low cholesterol is associated with violent behaviors, with higher suicide rates, with depression, anxiety. Violent offenders in prisons have low cholesterol. So people start to feel their mentality, their mental health, their psychological health, and their physical health decline. And of course, they're going to question what they're doing. Now, there's an entire community of vegan ideologues online trying to keep real people back in, trying to stop the damage, trying to stop the bleeding. Right? As people are constantly leaving this self-refuting ideology and this nutrient-deficient diet, you've got people out there trying to help them to do veganism right. Oh, you just didn't do it right. But people see through this veneer as well. People see how sickly, how emaciated, how mentally deranged, and how delusional these people pushing this content out there are. People see the way that these communities are working. They see these gurus' health falling apart. Right? They see these people can't even go outside without big glasses on to hide their eyes from the sun. They see the pallor. They see the loss of muscle mass. And it's sad. It's sad to see. But fortunately, human beings are intelligent. They don't want to be a part of these group of sick individuals. They start searching around for answers. They find out that, wait a minute, cholesterol isn't the enemy of mankind, the enemy of health. In fact, every cell in our body needs cholesterol. Our brain is made of cholesterol. Our body produces cholesterol and needs it. People start to realize that saturated fats aren't bad, that animal products aren't what's making us sick. And people start to question the ideology that they've become a part of. There are many reasons why people leave veganism. Well, you see on YouTube right now, a lot of people finally admitting, a lot of these former vegans finally admitting the health tragedy that a vegan diet has been for them. People see the degradation. People see the damage that it's doing. And they don't want a part of that. People want to live. People want to be healthy. People want to thrive. Never in the history of humanity has anybody, has any group, culture, any group or culture, been dumb enough to leave behind the most nutrient-dense foods in the world. Animal foods. We've got chickens down in our garden, roaming around, eating vegetables and bugs. We feed them meat scraps, and they give us eggs. Rural people are far less likely to be duped by veganism because they understand where their food comes from. People who are actually connected with growing their own food understand that you can't grow an Impossible Burger or a Beyond Burger in your garden. You can't live off of just fruit. You can't live off of just grain. We need fats. We need protein. There's no single vegan food that will give us a complete amino acid profile, that will be a complete protein. There's no single vegan food that you can mono eat and live off of. Yet people are discovering that it is possible to live exclusively off of meat. Now, I'm not saying that you should eat only meat, but there have been many cultures who've lived exclusively off animal products. The Inuit, before they come in contact with modern civilization, with the foods of commerce, as Weston A. Price called it, thrive off of an all-animal food diet. Many population of Inuit eating exclusively caribou or exclusively seal and thriving. The Mongolian hordes thrived over a primarily animal-based diet. The warrior tribes of the Maasai dominate the cultures around them, had to be cordoned off from the other tribes around them by the British aristocracy because they would completely dominate all the tribes around them. They were living off of a diet of exclusively meat. Now they use a lot more milk and actually have to bleed their cattle because they've been forced to stop hunting, but they're still thriving and much stronger than their surrounding tribes. Guys like Stephenson and Anderson, who were studied in the 1930s, lived off an exclusively meat diet for over a year under observation in a metabolic ward in New York after Stephenson made the claims that he was living exclusively off of meat for nearly a decade with the Inuit with zero negative health effects. Now you've got a large portion, or not a large portion, but a small heretical portion of the low-carb community experimenting with zero carbohydrate diets. I talked to Andrew Scarborough several years ago. He's been using a zero carbohydrate, all animal food diet as adjunct therapy for cancer. So he had a brain tumor removed, and in order to maintain stable brain chemistry, he started using a keto diet. He found that he was very sensitive to many vegetables, super sensitive to salicylates. So he removed all these vegetables from his diet and found that that was the only way that he could maintain his therapeutic level of ketosis and maintain that seizure threshold required for him to live. And he's been doing this for 5 years, and the cancer hasn't come back. There are people like Sean Baker living basically off of just steaks and thriving. People like Shalene and Joe Anderson and their family who've been living off of exclusively meat, not even doing what we do. You know, in our family, we like to eat a lot of organ meats. Of course, we don't feed our kids a zero-carb diet, but me, for the last year and a half, I've been eating mostly just animal foods. Very, very little plants in my diet, not dogmatically, just because I find it's simple and it's effective and it works for me. After doing a ketogenic diet for 5 years, I've gradually come to the conclusion that the plants are just not necessary for me. Now you got people like Sean Baker just eating steaks. He's not eating organ meats like we eat in our family. He's just eating steaks and thriving and is super strong. Shalene and Joe Anderson feeding their family basically ribeyes for 20 years. Probably had some fish in there as well. I think they do occasionally eat fish, but totally fine. In fact, Shalene Anderson, who had chronic Lyme's disease, has been symptom-free for 2 decades now. So people are realizing that not only are plants maybe not the health panacea that we've all thought they were, but they might not be necessary to eat at all. And a lot of former vegans have had gut dysbiosis issues, have been overeating on fiber, have been eating a diet based on processed, refined soylent slop and grain, an inhumane diet. And their health is tanked. A lot of us in this modern world have gut dysbiosis issues, have gut microbiome issues, have gut permeability issues, leaky gut, exposure to glyphosate, opening up the tight junctions in the gut, which opens up the blood-brain barrier and allows toxins through, chronic exposure to antibiotics, glyphosate being an antibiotic, glyphosate being a desiccant used even on non-GMO foods. All the lentils, all your chickpeas, your chia seeds, vegans, get sprayed with glyphosate as a desiccant to dry them out before they're harvested. Same with wheat. Wheat's not GMO, but it gets sprayed with glyphosate as a desiccant at the end of its life cycle so that it can be harvested more easily. Our exposure to a lot of these environmental toxins leave our gut permeable, leave our gut in disarray. People start trying to get healthy, they go to a vegan diet, their health tanks even more. They start drinking green smoothies, tossing back all this fiber, eating abrasive foods, foods that, plants that have defense mechanisms to keep us from eating them. And their health tanks. They're not getting the fat-soluble, health-building, vital nutrients from the meats, from the fish, from the eggs. And when you look at ancient Ayurvedic medicine, One of the oldest sayings in Ayurveda, and Phil Escott posted this on Twitter recently, and I forget the exact quote, but basically said that for the promotion of health and strength, meat is the most powerful food. So a lot of people think that Ayurveda is all about veganism, it's all about plants and plant medicines. That's not true. Only recently have people become so silly that we would accept these ideologies and starve ourselves of these vital nutrients. So a lot of these vegans, most of them future ex-vegans, right? Pretty much all vegans watching this right now, you're a future ex-vegan. You're not going to be vegan for very long. Fortunately for you, and hopefully for your children, if you didn't join the anti-fertility sect of the vegan cult, people like Dr. Greger promoting vasectomies. Hopefully you could still eat meat and make families and have a meaningful life and pass on to generations after you the ability to eat meat and make families. So a lot of these vegans get their health tanked by a vegan diet. And they start trying to figure out, what can I do? Right? What can I eat that's not super high in oxalates, salicylates, that's not full of things that are going to be abrasive to their gut and feel like glass going through. A lot of these vegans end up doing elimination diets, much like the GAPS diet. The gut and psychology syndrome diet is an elimination diet that's a nearly carnivorous diet. Now, a carnivore diet is an elimination diet, probably the most powerful elimination diet, because you're removing every potential irritant and just focusing on animal foods, just focusing on meat and fats. So it's a ketogenic diet, an elimination diet that removes all possible irritants. Simple rule that can help people to reset. It's safe, it's effective. And a lot of these ex-vegans are sick of the nonsense that they see in the vegan community. They're sick of these emaciated people spouting off about health when they're not getting the health results themselves. They're sick of seeing a bunch of Ichabod cranes out there talking about how to be healthy on a nutrient-depleted, inhumane vegan diet. And they're sick of being sick. So they end up going towards a carnivorous style diet or ketogenic diet as a way to get their health and their life back. And it's working. And they're talking about it openly. And there are people that are ready to help them, that are ready to receive them into their community, right? In the US, only 3% of the population identifies themselves as vegans. Even less than the people that are identifying themselves as vegans are really actually vegans. A lot of these people are just LARPing, just trying to sound cool, or they think it sounds enlightened because Bill Gates and the television told them that eating meat is bad. Right? Because big industry wants to herd us into these nutrient-depleted diets. Bayer and Monsanto are now combined. The biggest pharmaceutical company in the world, formerly IG Farben, makers of Zyklon B, bought out Monsanto, makers of Agent Orange. It's absolutely insane. Big industry loves pushing veganism on it. That's why you see Bill and Melinda Gates, Richard Branson, and these billionaire philanthropists promoting these vegan austerity diets. At the same time, talking about how depopulation is the greatest aspiration of their philanthropy. And these massive corporations are now pumping out these plant-based proteins, these consolidated foods that people in the cities can be easily duped into. Now, rural people, we're a little bit harder to fool because we know that we can feed our families off very small amounts of land with very little resources and energy input using animal agriculture and animal husbandry. We know that we can have a few cows on a small piece of land and feed an entire family. We know that we can have chickens and give our kids eggs every single day. People in the cities are a little bit easier, or a lot easier rather, to dupe into these diets. So these former vegans, these future ex-vegans are leaving the cult and they're getting their health back and they're talking about it openly, and others are following. Now it's really hard, especially for these people that have promoted veganism online, to admit that their health is failing. A lot of them try and hide it. A lot of them only talk about it in private. But many of them are going to be coming out in the near future as well. You see a lot of these big vegan YouTubers coming out and admitting that it's not working for them, that they're leaving it. They get attacked. They get death threats. They get all sorts of vitriol from these LARPing trolls online with anonymous accounts and these emaciated nut jobs who've wrapped up their whole identity in this movement are telling them, oh, you just didn't do it right. Send me your poop and your pee. I'll help you. But they're not buying into it. People are leaving the cult. People are getting their health back. And people are realizing that there are entire communities of people ready to help them out. Ready to receive them. Alright, you've got like meatheals.com. I think Sean Baker curates that site. With thousands of testimonies of people using carnivorous diets to get their health back. He's even got an entire Facebook group, a vegan recovery group, helping people get their health back. We do our keto and carnivore community coaching every month, where we have a very high number of former vegans coming and learning how to implement a low carbohydrate approach, a ketogenic approach, and even a carnivorous approach based on animal foods, on whole unrefined real foods to get their health back. There are people out there who are willing to help, and it's great to see. So future ex-vegans out there, you're not stuck. You don't have to keep lying about it to yourself and to others. There is an out. You can get your health back. You can get your life back. You can get your sanity back. And it's not that hard. So why are so many vegans leaving veganism, going to carnivore? Because it freaking works. So all the future ex-vegans out there realize that very soon you're going to be forced to make a decision. Do you want to continue to see your health, your mentality, your psychology decline? Or do you want your life back? It's a simple choice. It's easy to make. And you don't see any of these ex-vegans going back to a vegan diet. You can find more at primaledgehealth.com. The next Keto and Carnivore Collective is starting on December 9th. We're going to have quite a few ex-vegans in there. We've been sponsoring quite a few former vegans to help them out. You can sign up down below. It's a way that we do coaching where we can handle the clientele that, the demand that we have for coaching, and actually do it in a community-based setting and do it for much cheaper than private coaching consultations. So, future ex-vegans out there, you're going to be okay. Just stop lying to yourself. So get off the computer, get off social media, quit LARPing online. Go take your health back. Go take responsibility for your actions. Get connected to your source of food and go live your life.